Welcome to the MIT at Innovation Program podcast. This is a repository of insights by thought leaders and practitioners of innovation where they speak about their views, insights, and experiences. Come join us.
Today, we cover The Culture Code by Clotaire Rappel. We are joined by the head of the Innovation Program, Associate Professor Harshit Desai, a PhD research candidate and industry professional who has spent a decade plus in the education domain, who will be in conversation with our guest reader and innovator, Mr. Shekhar Vadve. Shekhar is a founding director of Locus Design, a leading strategy and design company. He's an NIT alumni with 17 plus years of diverse experience in strategic design, innovation, design research. He's also a jury at India Design Mark by Government of India, a member of CII's National Committee on Design and Design Interventions in Smart City. About the author of the bestseller, Clotaire Rappel, he's the CEO and founder of Archetype Discoveries Worldwide. He is an accomplished author, having published 17 books with topics ranging from psychology, marketing, sociology, and cultural anthropology. For those who are joining us for the first time today, we'd like to inform you that MIT stands for the 4-decade-old Maharashtra Institute of Technology. ID stands for MIT's 15-year-old Pioneering Institute of Design. And MIT ID's one-year innovation program focuses on the 4 pillars of design, business, technology, and humanities. The key features are immersions, project-based learning, and humanities. This is our 30th industry interaction this season, and I, Priya Dhawan, Head of Collaborations, Branding, and Outreach for the MIT ID Innovation Program, welcome you all once again to this thoughtfully curated innovation journey. Warm welcome once again, Shekhar. Over to you.
Thanks, Priya. Thanks, Harshit. And thanks, MIT.
Yes, sir. Thank you for, again, this wonderful continuation of the series that we are having. And again, thanks for bringing in a very, very relevant book again. Before, again, we go into the details, this was a bigger question, even when I heard about the book and I read this book long back. But probably it would be good to hear from you. Something which is as dynamic and as complex as culture, how can we have a code for it? That's a very, very, if somebody can have a code for a culture, I think that's the biggest mystery being solved. So wherever possible, I think if you, this for me, and that's the question from my side to you that I would like to learn in the course of the book review that we are doing. So thank you again, sir. And I think let's start probably the way we usually have a brief background and why did we choose this book? I think that's the most appropriate question to start the discussion with.
I think, Harshit, what question you've asked is very relevant. And the day I picked this book up, again, I have a typical habit of picking up books at the airport.
Yeah.
And I started with very cynical mindset saying that how could it be?
Yeah.
The same question, saying that how culture could be defined probably in a word. And hence I picked this book saying that let me hear him out. Let me see what he's mentioning. Let me also see how has he come to this conclusion. It's very interesting to also not look at only the outcome of the book, but the process in which the author has gone through, he himself personally. And all credit to Dr. Rappel that he has succinctly put this across. And I was, towards the end of the book, I could see that why nobody has done this before. And that's the beauty of this book. It might sound, oh, it's so simple, and why I couldn't do it. And let me tell you that in the last 18 years, I've been always wondering about this. And always in all the projects, we used to decipher something or the other.
Yeah.
But there's nothing which was comprehensive. So, wonderful book, wonderful to have, wonderful to refer, wonderful to build on. And that is what Dr. Rappel is pushing you to do. He's not asking you to follow this as a Bible, Gita, or probably a guide, but it's a start point to start thinking.
Okay.
And all innovation processes essentially needs an approach, a start point. And I think what he is presenting is a start point, trying to understand, decipher, understand people not from what they're doing, but why are they doing it.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, and though, of course, his diverse experience in marketing and all of that helps make it very simple, crisp to understand. So he is an author with very large experience, very wide experience. Also, uh, he has a basic understanding of human beings, and that is what I have observed. I could see three layers of the book, and I
Okay.
could possibly feel as if he was talking to me in
Mhm.
terms of saying that one layer is the marketing layer, second layer is in terms of what is this code, which is the connection between what we apparently see, overtly see, and
Mhm.
what is happening covertly deep down within the person.
Okay.
And I could draw a lot of parallels in Indian philosophy also. And
Oh.
this is something that has been codified. It's not that it's not been codified. We don't take the effort to really read. And thanks for this book reading session. I think all of us are reading a lot. So I'll start with a presentation, and
Sure, sir.
I've tried to do justice to this book by making it crisper, smaller, because one needs to really go into depth to understand this. Ponder over. Each page will make you think. Each page will take you back and question yourself, saying that no, this can't be in India. Oh, I can't define India. India is so diverse.
Yeah.
But by the way, as a subcontinent, though we are diverse apparently, our thinking process, human beings in the subcontinent, is more or less similar. And what we've tried to do is that, though he gives codes for, of course, he being the Frenchman,
Hmm.
he gives a lot of codes for France and the
Okay.
French,
Mhm.
British, the German, and Americans, of course,
Yeah.
predominantly.
Yeah.
One last slide, we did this exercise in our office, and my office teams have put in a lot of effort to define similar codes or similar situations and Indian codes.
Oh, wow.
All right, so that will help most of us understand. Otherwise, you'll think that, oh, this is all about America. What about India? So
Mhm.
we put in that effort, and
Okay.
thanks to my team, they've done a wonderful job. So
Okay.
let's get into this quick.
Sure, sir. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, visible?
Yes, sir. Loud and
All
clear.
right, cool.
Cool.
So, Dr. Rapai, the culture code, and it's going to unlock a lot of mysteries, a lot of debate. It's going to open up a lot of thoughts, and all those things are essential for the journey to begin. If you do not have the thoughts, dilemma, or contradictions, you cannot begin any journey, and especially innovation journey or design journey for that matter. So let's head straight into this. He says the culture code, it's an ingenious way, very simple, effective way to understand why people around the world live and buy as they do. All right. And there is tremendous commonality. He's not saying that one code fits all, but he says that one code fits many, and predominant population behaves with the code. You can then go into further research and then start defining it even further if you want. So this is no Bible, Gita, or a guide. It is a start point. It will give you much clarity as to why people behave in a particular way, and what are these, where are these habits coming from. All right, and it is very nuanced. All right, so let's understand this. Ruth Benedict, she's an anthropologist, and she was sent by the American Army to Japan. This is World War II, to understand who are these Japanese people, how do they behave, why do they behave in a particular way, because America was to occupy Japan for a couple of years after the World War II.
True.
So she was sent before to study the Japanese culture. So he quotes that one of the handicaps of today's world is that we have very vague and very biased notion of not only what makes a particular nation or the people in the nation. So what what do we mean by Japanese people? What are they made up of? what do we mean by Indians for that matter? What are we made up of? We are made up of lot of decisions we take, and those decisions are certain things that are based on our cultural backgrounds, our memories, and basis which we behave in a particular way, and behavior would typically lead to decisions. So lacking this knowledge, each country has misunderstood each other so much that we end up in world wars. All right, very small aspects would lead to tremendous misunderstandings. You can also understand this from a person sitting next to you. And then why did this person behave in a particular way? The lack of understanding as to why he did behave like that will result into arguments, fights, or whatever, wars for that matter. So I also urge that you guys read the author Ruth Benedict. Wonderful. Will help probably whoever is excited about understanding the culture and the effect of culture on people. This is essential if you're a designer. It is extremely essential if you're an innovator, because you need to understand your innovation is going to be seen, taken up very differently by different set of people. It's a start point again for any innovation cycle. Principle 1. So he's put in some 5-6 principles. I'm going to present few of them here. He says that you can't believe what people say. So all that people say is overt. If you ask anybody, what do you think of this? They'll give you an overt answer. But in the covert depth, there are certain cultural codes which are affecting that decision, affecting that thought, affecting that behavior. So the unconscious meaning, the culture code is essentially the unconscious meaning we apply to any given thing. What does a car mean to us in India? What does a type of food, a particular type of food means to us? Relationship, country, flag, aromas. All right. And it's obvious to everyone that cultures are different from one another. The same meaning would, the same object or a person would be seeing the thing very differently in a different culture. Car in America would be very different from car in India in terms of what associations people have. But what most people don't realize, however, is that these differences actually lead to our processing the same information in different ways. So if you're designing an object, if you're designing something, if you're innovating for the world, you need to understand this as to how do you look at it from multiple angles, multiple facets, and then probably we'll understand this far better. Imprints vary from culture to culture. We need not really go into depth, but pan-Indian culture, first we need to understand if you have to understand India. And culture is not religion. Let's also get this clear in our heads. Most people confuse culture and religion. Culture is pan-Indian culture. And this pan-Indian culture is different from a particular religion that is in this culture. So as Indians, what is the culture, let's say, for that matter? And all the codes are hidden in this unconscious of every culture. The memory, the history, the genetic code, all of this affects. And that's how we are. He cites a very simple, very effective example of the Jeep. This is a Jeep, world famous automobile icon. Everybody dreamt of having a Jeep one point in time in their lives, especially boys, of course. So in American experience, the Jeep is very different from the French and the German experience. And there's a reason for it. The Germans see the Jeep as people who came and conquered them. And the army, the allies, typically used to be in the Jeep, the American Jeep, and they used to roam around with flags and stuff like this. And that is what the Germans saw. And the Germans associated the Jeep with something else. But for the Americans, it was an icon. It was a war icon where history, win, and their occupation of the rest of the world happened. So for Americans, the Jeep is seen very differently. For Germans, the Jeep is seen extremely differently. And this is how it starts differing. The same cultural icon, the same memory will have different triggers. So it's a wonderful example to see, and there could be, of course, many. Simple things like, what does sun mean in India? Or what does moon mean to somebody? Moon could evoke romantic feelings, calmness, soothing, or it could also evoke fear in certain cultures. But sun could also mean energy. Sun could also mean God in certain cultures. Like in India, sun is treated as God. But in certain cultures, they may not treat sun as God. So there is a different code for very simple things like this. And how do we look at things? And it's important to understand how do we look at depends on how we are and what is our background. So simple things like sun and moon would be seen so differently in different cultures, different ways. Principle 2, emotion is the energy required to learn anything. So there are very interesting examples like a hot pan and the child. If you touch the hot pan accidentally, you will remember forever. What does a hot pan do to you? So that gets into your memory and it becomes fixed. And that memory, that shock of a hot pan will result into something that will get inscribed, imbibed into a particular mind. Electrical shock for that matter. Or in certain cultures, farmer and his son, when the son is young enough, the farmer takes him to his farm. And at every corner, the farmer beats up his son. Every corner beats up. The son remembers forever the boundary and the field of his farm. He exactly remembers what is where because it is associated with a memory strong enough. And then that memory is something that keeps playing behind the scene. So these are mental highways. Emotions essentially will create mental connections. We know that neurons will start patching in. The brain is a lazy device. It tries to create mental highways so that it can save energy and essentially move faster. This is one of my favorites, principle 3, the structure and not the content. So this is very interesting to understand. So if you look at the meanings between the person and the object, you will get to see some sort of relationship. The way, let's say, the uncle and the niece, the uncle does not become uncle till the time he has a niece, or a mother does not become a mother till the time she has a child. So this relationship is the structure. Any information, any message essentially works on this. And this gives very good insights in terms of how do you approach any sort of relationship. So look at the structure, don't look at only two objects or two people, but how are they interacting with each other? And that interaction is where the structure is. Like, let's say, independently you understand a guy or a girl, and you independently understand a car, and you start designing the car independent of this person, you will end up making a car which probably may or may not be liked by this person. But the moment you understand that the car and the driver have a tremendous relationship, somebody would be in love with their car, somebody is aggressive with their car, somebody is fanatic about their car, like let's say the Parsis in India are fanatic. The Bawas are fanatic about their vehicles. They will not sell it, they will preserve it, they will clean it, and it will be spick and span, hearty condition, all of this. This is the relationship between the Parsi fellow and the car, without which you will not be able to understand the structure of it. So essentially, Dr. Raphael is talking about the structure, and the structure is the key if you have to understand what is this link between these two objects or people. Then, of course, there's a window in time for imprinting. Any memory has to be imprinted, has to be typically gets imprinted when we are 7 years old, because that's a time when, of course, emotions are in play. They don't have too much of baggage. They do not use their prefrontal cortex so much. They only know hunger and basic primordial needs. So emotion is very powerful at this time. So age 7 till age 7, most of the memories are casted, and hence we say that till age 7 it is very critical and to take care of, and the sanskars that have to happen to kids, let's say in India for that matter. And it's also critical to see that these kids typically at till age 7 do not venture out too much. So the inputs coming from the world are less. All the inputs are within their home or the small local environment or vicinity of their home. So age 7 is critical, the window of imprinting. Like, let's say example, what is the first real imprint of alcohol? So most Americans, their first real imprint of alcohol is when they're teenagers. They're not young enough to understand what alcohol means. But the French look at alcohol or wine for that matter for taste and not really get drunk. Similar is the case with India. Indians, average age when people start drinking would be about 20, not even teens. So our understanding of alcohol, our understanding or appreciation of alcohol is very limited. Most Indians would want to drink only to get drunk, unfortunately. So hence, we don't value so much of taste. We don't value the nuances. We don't understand these nuances. And you could see this across. So again, the imprinting matters. If you're exposed to certain things, I'm not suggesting that you get exposed to drinking alcohol at the age of 7 or 8 or 10, but I'm saying that how does it get affected? And it gets affected in the positive way or probably the wrongest way possible. So most American teens will guzzle the beer, unlike some other cultures. And this is how the imprinting happens. And this imprint remains for life. For life. We have to consciously change this imprint by getting into habit formation. So let's fit you with new set of glasses. Let's look at few examples. Let's look at how to look at things now. Now that we've understood the basics, I'm not saying this is all. Please read the book, go through his videos and you'll get more information. So let's say the codes for love and sex. Very interesting topic. So the American cultural code for love is false expectation. Because most of the love or the romance results into either they breaking up or getting divorced and stuff like this. In France, love is seen as pleasure and it is intertwined between the concepts of love and pleasure. So for them, Mr. Right is irrelevant. The refinement is what matters, and you get to see it. Paris is known for it being the city of love and romance and etc. Why does this happen? It is because the cultural code is like that. People are imprinted with something like this. Highly sophisticated process. For Italians, they would look at life as a comedy rather than a tragedy and they'll laugh it out. They expect love to contain strong dimensions of pleasure, beauty, and above all, fun. If love becomes too dramatic for the Italians, it's too hard and it's unsatisfying. So they want it to be bubbly, they want it to be pleasurable, they want it to be beautiful. See the way from America, let's say to France to Italy, how does it change? And for the Japanese, I found it very exciting and interesting and intriguing. But the Japanese say that if he's young, how can he possibly have enough experience to make a decision of this type? Who do to love or fall in love and probably get married to that person. So in Japan, like India, the marriage is left to the parents. Parents are old enough, experienced enough to decide what's good. So this is the difference between the codes. Now, what is the code for India? We'll come to that later. I found this very shocking, and then I realized, yes, Americans don't have sex, they have sex problems. So American culture for sex is violence. So I was thinking whether it is true. So you see all variety of Hollywood films, and you'll get to see predominantly most of the American movies will have these problems shown very evidently. You see series on Netflix. It will be so different if you're watching an American series or a Brit series or a Spanish series. You get to see the difference. And of course, Indian series. So the code varies. And you get to see this through a lot of examples, advertisements, design, movies. Movies is a great reflection of the community and the culture and the society, of course. So you get to see this very, very strongly. Like, let's say another example. What is the code for beauty and, let's say, being fat? So for Americans, it is about man's salvation. What is this? So if a woman can impress her beauty upon a man permanently, if she can stay beautiful in his eyes, she can make him a better human being. She's doing more than keeping herself visually appealing to him. She's elevating him from being a rutting animal to something more exalted. The same thing, what is the code for beauty in Norway, Scandinavian country? So in Norway, beauty is the reflection of one's connection with natural world. This is so dramatically different. So the Norwegian men consider slim women with athletic build the most beautiful because they think that they are most active, they are capable of running, jogging, skiing, long distances. Norwegian women wear very little makeup or no makeup for that matter and do very little with their hair because naturalness is the beautiful thing in the culture. So tomorrow, if you have to launch a product or create something for, let's say, the Scandinavian countries, and if you go against the code, it is bound to fail. Or you need to pump in tremendous amount of money in advertising, be on that treadmill, and eventually fail for that matter. Let's say code for health. So for Americans, believe that they're strong enough to act, then they are healthy. If they're moving, if they're jogging, if they're doing things, if they're active, if there is movement in their life, they feel that they're healthy. Their greatest fear is about being sick, is that inability to do things. But for the Chinese, health means being in harmony with nature. This was also the case with India for that matter. Till the moment we adopted the Western methods, one of my clients told me that till date, Chinese hospitals or clinics will prescribe you a lot of natural medicine or not natural methods, like let's say for that matter, acupuncture. So Chinese medicine has been around for 5,000 years, probably similar like India, and has always taken into consideration human beings' place in the natural world, curing illness using plants and herbs, astrology for that matter, and even phases of the moon. This is how the Chinese look at health. But it is dramatically different from how Americans look at health. So Chinese are looking at harmony, America is looking at being active, being moving, and able. How do Indians look at health? So few quick quotes here. Let's say for the Americans, who are doctors for them? The code for doctors is hero, somebody who's a savior. Hospitals, they feel it is a processing plant. They think youth is a mask, it's a facade. What is a home? The prefix reconnect, rewind, rejig, relax are the codes for home. Dinner, essential circle. You again watch American movies, you will always have one scene where the entire families got together at least once a year for that matter. Thanksgiving. Work for them is who you are. It represents, it presents to the world who you are. Money is proof. If you see the Western American movies, there will be one dialogue, show me where it is. So show is the essential proof for money. Food is fuel to get going, moving. Again, mobility. Shopping, reconnecting with life. And hence you get to see these massive hypermarts, hyperstores. So this is about the codes. And these are few. Of course, there are quite a few in the book. There are also comparisons between the American codes, the French, the Brit, German, Japanese, Chinese, etc. Another interesting one that I found was Americans find perfection boring. If something is perfect, they feel that they're stuck for life with it. It doesn't sit well with the Americans. Americans don't put a premium on quality. They're just okay if it works. It has to work. Because if it doesn't work, then it becomes a problem in terms of providing, doing things. And if it becomes a problem of doing things, then some other cultural code is moved, disturbed. So the work cultural code gets disturbed. If their mobile phone or the network is probably dropping out, they'll be frustrated because they're not able to work. And if they're not able to work, that means to the world, they're not efficient. And that's their image. All right. But the Japanese, on the other hand, are perfectionists. So the concept of zero defects, first time right, just in time, all of these are Japanese concepts. So the Japanese started probably the Toyota way, the JIT, and there are so many Kaizen, and there are so many management techniques, production techniques, etc., which the Americans tried to adopt in American factories. Eventually, it did not work for them because inherently their code is different from the Japanese or the Koreans for that matter. So this is how it varies. This is how it differs. So what is the code for Indians? So let's look at a few things that we've put up. Now, these are our limited research that we've done. I've put this across for you guys to ponder over, think about it, and probably take this up whenever you guys want to. So let's look at a few Indian codes. So what is the code, Indian code for education? Rat race. Education is equal to money. People do get educated because they want to make money. They want to survive. What is the code for food in India? Ped bhar ke khao. Dakar aane tak khao. Hog. Don't worry about being sick. Don't worry about putting up weight. Don't worry about fat. Don't worry about anything. Don't worry about calories. Kilocalories, the more the welcome. Health, ignore. We don't have time for health because we have to make money. Otherwise, we can't survive. Or somebody else will come into competition, take your seat away, take your job away, take something away. And hence, we are perpetually running. Quality, we are okay if it is working. We don't care about precision. We don't care about 19-20 chalta hai, chalne de, chal raha hai, it's okay. Chalao. Don't get involved into it too much. Work is equal to survival for us. Money again is proof. Big car, big house, flashy this, flashy that. It is also the proof that I'm surviving probably. Service, we don't care about quality. Hence service becomes very important. अरे उसने मुझे रात को सर्विस दी, उसने मुझे हेल्प किया रात को आके. He went beyond his office timings or way beyond his responsibility and solved this, fixed this for me. And that's how we are impressed. That's how relationships are. Love for us is emotional. All our Hindi movies can show this to you very easily, that we are extremely emotional people. Doctors for us, gods. There's no other phenomena. Bhagwan hai wo hamare liye. Hospital, it's a factory. It is an unhygienic place. Don't go there. Avoid. Car, It is about mobility. Point A to point B jana, I don't care too much. This is, of course, not true for, let's say, the Parsis for that matter. But they are a very small population. Home, it is a shelter. Travel, this is the funniest. Vasool karo. Tick. Go click pictures. You don't get absorbed in the environment. You don't reflect on the culture. You don't mix. You don't mingle. You don't care. हाँ मैं ये 5 जगह पे जाके आया ये समर वेकेशन में मैंने ये 15 चीजें कर ली बात खत्म हो गई come tell your friends and family that I've done these 15 things I've vasulofied travel waste that is garbage etc ignore मेरे घर के सामने नहीं तो I don't care मेरे घर में नहीं I don't care so avoid and ignore bank untrustworthy such a contrary thing government whether it is government or government departments avoid don't go there don't get involved that you have to go to a government office gifting is not so much about the other person it is about my image about me myself in the other person's head so my image festivals they are a binder beautiful family gets together so everybody is happy everybody is together so many things happen so festival is a big binder books I will read it if it is compulsory it connects very highly to education अगर compulsory है तो करो नहीं तो option में डाल दो youth they are a shadow they'll follow elders this is how our culture is this is the beauty of our culture it should be seen as positive alcohol for most of Indians is escape they want to escape the reality not many people consume alcohol for the taste of it the beauty of it and they will not relish nothing drink sex we don't talk about it so in total it looks like India is about struggle if you come to India as a visitor if you are an Indian unfortunately we have to struggle through everything traffic passport visa airport taxis hotels photographs anything for that matter so this is what we had put together through our limited research. Of course, this is bound to change if we do a pan-India research, and this will probably help as a start point. Thank you so much. This is succinctly what I could put, get you guys excited, and probably read about it furthermore.
Fantastic, sir. Yes, sir. Good. Finally, we have a code for India, although it is on multiple parameters, which in a way shows the diversity of things that goes into making a culture, I think. So before we get into the audience questions, again, if
Harshit, I would like to point out one thing, sorry.
Yeah, please, sir.
Just to add before we go into the next thing.
Yeah.
So this cultural code, if you see the Indian codes, we've done some 15, 20 of them or 25 of them.
Yeah.
These 25 will reflect you at every decision-making point.
That's...
So you cannot have one sentence, one word for everything. And that's why mass law does not work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you as a human being, you as an Indian are so different when you are studying for money, when you are buying a car, when you are falling in love, or you are traveling to Vasulofy.
And I can be multiple persons depending on the occasions.
Correct. It's a schizophrenic world, unfortunately. Yeah. So we should not put one thing, one blanket thing, saying that, oh, now you are in the Maslow's top wala
self-actualization.
Self-actualization. Then everything is sorted. No. The moment you do something else, you might be in the physical security wala needs.
True.
So you keep fluctuating. And this fluctuation needs to be understood कि कौन सा चीज क्या खरीदने जा रहे हो या क्या करने जा रहे हो. That moment in time, it will change. And this is the beauty of this book. This is the beauty of understanding people. This is the beauty of understanding the culture and what makes us.
Exactly. No, very
Yes, sir.
rightly pointed out, sir, because especially since you brought up Maslow's, India is a very glaring example where people have reached the self-actualization stage, even not being fully satisfied with their basic needs. That's so evident at times when we see people
Yeah,
of a
Dharavi
certain,
is a great example.
yeah, means all sorts of, be it resilience, be it cooperation, all those higher order needs, the so-called higher order needs, are very, very high in people who are coming from some low income.
Absolutely.
Okay, sir. So let's see, because I think there are multiple and very interesting questions. So Deepak is asking, Deepak Mundra, that which other country has a similar code like India? And I've heard Asians have similar cultures, but not sure on what parameters.
So Indian subcontinent, if you take, okay, subcontinent, I will draw a line at the Indus Valley civilization wala line agar draw kare, because beyond that you become too Afghan to be an Indian.
Yeah.
Okay, till then, till Bangladesh, we are more or less similar. The Northeast will fall into the eastern side.
Eastern. Yeah.
Because if you go to Northeast, they are so different than rest of the Indians. They don't misbehave. They will obey traffic rules. Pune, it's a different world, planet altogether. But so I feel this is the geography which might define more or less similarities. Sri Lanka and up till Nepal. You go to Nepal, it is 25, 30 years back how Ghaziabad would have been.
Yeah, true. Essentially the Southeast Asian belt, and I don't know.
No, not the Southeast Asian belt. The Filipinos,
okay,
the Thai,
the
Burmese are very different from us.
Oh.
Very, very different. Culturally different, though they might have a lot of Hinduism there.
Yeah, because
some of it might be similar, but rest of the stuff will be dramatically different.
I think that's where because I think the codes that you had were for multiple parameters, or maybe it's a matrix sort of a thing. So I think a mix and match of that would eventually define the code, and that will make somebody like Indian and somebody not like Indian. I think that's how it could be applied. Okay, now Mithwan Thakur is asking if there was a code for art and entertainment in the Indian context, what would be your take on it?
I don't have it ready offhand, but I can give you my personal take on this.
Yeah.
So art for Indians is boring, waste of time, money, and effort. But
entertainment?
I'm saying modern art.
Yeah.
If you look at traditional arts, then we have a different emotion for it.
Okay.
Totally different. We think it is valuable.
Sure.
But on the contrary, there are a lot of hooligans you'll get to see who will destroy this art and art forms.
Yeah.
But largely Indians will value and respect art. So there is a lot of value and respect to traditional arts. All the modern art and all of this is waste of time and energy and money, and it is boring. I don't get it. Hence it is like that. So, but entertainment.
Yeah.
Entertainment is entertainment.
Entertainment.
You don't want entertainment mein dimag lagao. It has to be slapstick. It has to be enjoyable. Forget it. मुझे ज़्यादा दिमाग लगाना नहीं पड़ना चाहिए. Enjoyable.
Okay.
हंसी आनी चाहिए और बात खत्म होनी चाहिए.
So similar to Mithwan, I think Vinay Khernar has asked a subset of it. So do you consider song and music also to be falling under entertainment?
No. So
how would we draw a line there?
Songs mean a lot of things to us.
Okay.
We see a lot of meaning. Our songs are very beautiful. I don't think so any other country will have so many meaningful and beautiful songs. And lot of depth to our songs. I'm not talking about Salman Khan kinds of movie, wala Judwa kinds of movies, and songs. Lift Teri Band Hai, Upar Kaise Aao, whatever nonsense I'm not talking about. I'm talking about 99% other things which are so beautiful. So I think we seek a lot of meaning in music. We value words, we value emotion because we are an emotional country. largely.
Okay.
So I see music and songs not to be clubbed in entertainment. No, entertainment wala category of music I don't personally listen to, so I don't value it. I don't see it. But on the other hand, we see a lot of meaning and depth.
Okay.
There are a lot of layers to our songs. There's a lot of layers to our music. Indian music, whether it is Hindustani classical or Carnatic, and for that matter, now that we've adopted jazz also because of the Portuguese and the
all sorts of fusion. Yeah.
There's a lot of layering to our music. So it also shows the amalgamation, the crucible of various cultures coming in and reflecting on our music. Sufi.
Yeah.
It is not inherent to India. It came from Persia.
Yeah.
But we adopted it. So for us, adoption is another thing. Adapting is another thing. So adapting is another business. Adoption is another business. And we get mixed into it. We don't distinguish and separate things. We mix things beautifully. And hence our music is so beautiful.
True.
Including modern Bollywood, lot of music is amazing.
It's good.
Oh man. Okay. Priyadarshini.
Dinesh Pal is asking, do we have any measurement of impact of this code in any case? Any examples that you can refer here?
So we've not done it, but there are a lot of research agencies who typically do this, but nowhere and never has anybody done research on so many factors, so many codes, and put a matrix to it. But it is an extremely doable thing, Dinesh. Extremely doable. But it will require a humongous research program where some PhD candidate like Harshit can guide some other people and get this done once forever. And it will keep updating. But I'm sure if we collaborate, we work with variety of universities and get this thing together, it is not an undoable task at all. It is humongous, magnanimous, but it is doable. So the measurement is doable, absolutely doable. So I don't foresee any problem with it. But we've not done it personally. We put this up right now, but in all possible future, we are planning to do this because this is the most useful tool to understand how people will react and change and behave.
But maybe, sir, maybe in hindsight, if we just look at examples, and we have a very famous example of the Tata Nano, and I could see that exact connection that you put up as a code.
Correct.
So I think that's would that be an apt example of codes?
Yes, beautiful. So I'll borrow this example from you, Harshit, now.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Nano was seen as not a replacement for two-wheeler because it hit badly on the image building activity that an Indian wants to do with his car.
It's an aspirational product.
वो aspiration कहाँ से आता है? Because it is something that I want to build an image. So I would not leave it at aspiration. I would go below.
Okay.
So the more you go into depth, you will understand where is this aspiration coming from. That aspiration is coming from the need of building an image. Why is there a need of building an image? Because there are so many people. How will I identify myself in this crowd? How others will look at me in this crowd? I will probably get lost with 1.2 billion people.
Yeah.
And hence you get to see so many stupid things people do. Abhi kya wo gold plated Nano aaya tha. I saw something, oh man. And people wear 5 kgs of gold and somebody had made a mask out of gold. Pune fellow only.
Yeah.
All these are identity crisis issues. And this identity crisis comes out of lack of identity because there are so many people. There is so much competition. Once you don't have anything fundamental, you will try and build these facades.
Okay. So, related question, I think we can relate with the question that Kashvi Kothari has. A very, like, it's $1 million question if we're able to answer it. So she's asking, why are we the way we are? Means like in the book for Americans and their adolescent culture, they talk about how it all comes from their past having no one to rule over them and immigrants coming together, and it's a new world in that sense. But what us Indians, what does make us the way we are? or we just say
Difficult
we are
question,
like
but
that?
I will answer it very quickly because
We are
I
like,
like another question here by Maitri.
yeah,
I would like to answer that also.
yeah,
Uh, so cultural codes will evolve. I'm also answering Maitri parallelly.
yeah.
Uh, but how does it evolve? What impacts us? So there are 7 types of memories in Indian philosophy. Okay.
Yeah.
So these 7 memories will affect you. And the 7 memories will build a person.
Mm-hmm.
And these 7 memories will create whatever matrices or decision making factors in terms of how and what you do. So these memories are a collective memory.
Okay.
So collective memory will result into it being a collective culture.
Okay.
The entire India knows that the Mughals came and killed and looted us, and the Britishers also did that, and Britishers of course did some good things, a lot of bad things, etc. This is a common memory. But this common memory eventually has some imprint on us. It is also told through movies, stories, and education, and so many other factors. So the generation Z will have some percolation happening, but they will evolve slightly differently than probably our generation, Arshit, or our prior generation, or even previous generation to us. But they will not be dramatically 180 degrees opposite. Never.
Okay.
They will have a predominant factor of who we are. There's another component called cellular memory. And that cellular memory is built over 1 billion years. You can't erase that. Whether you're Generation Z or Y or God knows generation from 2097, doesn't matter. It is only 97 years or 67 years now. So 67 years versus 1 billion of cellular memory. It cannot be erased. That will remain. But how much component of that will remain versus what have you adopted might change a bit. So changing mindset, you need to understand how much has it changed. I don't want to, and I don't like to make a blanket statement saying that, oh, Generation Z is like that. No. You put them into a situation, they will behave exactly like their parents. Would they love their parents in a difficult situation? Yes. How much ever rebel they are. Would they cry watching an emotional film, romantic film? Yes.
They will.
They would. How much ever they were listening to whatever today's popular music culture is, they would have a lot of strong emotions when they're listening to Hindi, Bollywood, etc. So largely, this is how it works.
Sir, I think there are quite a few questions. Is it okay if we extend it for 5-10 minutes more and take all
Please.
hands? Okay.
Sure.
I think there's one interesting question, which again, in light of the recent work that you are doing, Priyadarshini wants to know, how do you see yoga in Indian culture, and is it somewhere kind of part of the code in some or the other way?
So Indians look at yoga as in 2-3 ways. I'm not giving you the code, but I will tell you how people look at it.
Yeah.
One, it is a bragging issue. They want to brag about yoga because that's the most well understood thing across the world.
Okay.
And people respect you for yoga. Whether you do yoga or not in India, it doesn't matter, but you'll go brag about yoga if you go to any other country, especially Europe and America, because they value it and they see it like that. But on the other hand, unfortunately, yoga is seen as exercise. Yoga is way of life, as understood by Indian culture and philosophy. So way of life to exercise to bragging depends on who you are. But predominantly it will be seen as something that you want to brag about. Image wala, identity wala scenario. Unfortunately. Whether you know about yoga or not, it doesn't matter. Yes.
Okay. Uh, Siddesh, we've kind of partially answered this, but if you want to spend some more time, because Siddesh Vaidya is asking that do this code change with time, and so what changes and what doesn't change, and is it possible to manipulate them for some different outcome?
Don't do that, please. Don't manipulate.
Okay.
Understand it and then design it well. Then you
Okay.
don't need to manipulate. I don't prescribe that. I don't allow that manipulation wala business. But if you understand it well, you will design it well. So you don't need to manipulate. But the other interesting part is what Siddesh is asking is whether it evolves, it changes. Yes, it changes.
Yeah.
It changes with catastrophic events. It changes with war. It changes with genocide. It changes with many things which are devastating, like the nuclear holocaust or the atomic bombing of Japan has changed them dramatically. They have become people who will respect, they will have respect for others, not that they did not have, but their imperial agendas have gone down. So it changes. The ruthlessness has probably gone down dramatically. So there are quite a few factors which will change the imprint, but it requires that amount of amperage wala shock.
To shake it up. And
like this COVID thing also will shake a lot of people.
Yeah.
But COVID, unfortunately, is not the biggest electrical shock. Thankfully.
Yeah.
But the Great Depression, I was talking about it last time, in the 20s, was a great shock. Humongous shock. Another thing, 150 years of British rule has changed us from being confident people to people who only work under Chabuk. Our enterprising nature went down.
Yep.
Because 150 years of cleansing happened, unfortunately. Or domination happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that brings me probably to the last question, where Rajeshri is, she's asking that Indian companies invest less in research and rely on being more of service providers. Is that a reflection of a culture code?
Rajeshri, I would disagree partly. Do they invest in research? Yes. What research do they invest in? Very shallow.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Not many organizations, not many brands, unfortunately, go into depth to really understand what is happening. But there are quite a few organizations and brands who would want to go to the depth of understanding. But of this order, has there been any research being done? No, they're superficial. They're looking at sales spikes. They're looking at jolts. They're not looking at long-term understanding of any behavior changing methods, etc. They're looking at a quick spike and get money. Shine bright quickly and get away. Get lost. Doesn't matter. Long-term बाद में देखेंगे. It is again a code.
Yeah. That's
saying that कि मुझे time नहीं है बाबा 15 साल ये सब करने के लिए 15 साल तक मैं बूढ़ा हो जाऊंगा मैं मर जाऊंगा दूसरा कोई मुझे रिप्लेस कर देगा या मेरे बच्चों का क्या होगा उनके लिए इंजीनियरिंग की फीस कौन भरेगा MIT IIT की फीस कौन भरेगा let me earn money I don't care about anything else. This is the unfortunate world. We need to stop somewhere and reflect back saying that has this added value to us, and my personal opinion it has not. ये सब rat race करके कुछ हुआ नहीं है अपना. We have destroyed ourselves big time. Our cultural codes have dwarfed, changed, unfortunately. So we need to think back. So hence my urge and suggestion to you guys is to reflect on this, understand how is this affecting us, and the next time you are taking a decision of any sort, you will quickly understand under what circumstances and what emotion and what memory in the background are you taking a decision. And probably you will have the power to change the decision differently. This is the power of this book. This is the power of codes. This is the power of understanding human beings and their behavior or their backgrounds. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. I think this was a good note to again end it on, because as in the last book we discussed on hope, I think there is a hope going forward, and if we understand these things
Absolutely.
and kind of use it to our advantage, I think things can be surely turned in a positive way, both for the individual, corporations, companies, and India as a whole. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for connecting these dots again, because I am seeing each session as a building up on what we have been doing in the
Yes.
past. So it's very
Absolutely.
important for us also to kind of
I
connect up
think
things.
the curation is wonderfully done.
No,
I
sir.
think it will
All
help
thanks. Yeah.
build, and I hope till the last book, this build-up will result into something very phenomenal for all of us and the attendees.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, all of you. Thanks, Harshit and Priya, and thanks MIT, of course.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shekhar.
See you next Friday.
Yes, Priya. Yep.
Sure. Thank you so much, Shekhar, for the insights.
Welcome.
To the audience, for more questions, do reach out to us offline. I believe there are still 1 or 2 left, but that's something which you can always reach out to Mr. Shekhar Badwe on Instagram or LinkedIn and have those answered. A round of thanks to our audience for joining us today, and special thanks to our guest reader for his time and sharing the value-add takeaways from this bestseller. Next, we'd like to invite you to the next book reading session, The Hidden Connections by Fritjof Capra, on Friday, 14th August, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So tune in to Bookmarked and let's learn, innovate, lead. Please register in case you haven't yet. And we encourage you to connect with us via our social channels to know more about the MIT ID Innovation Program and upcoming engagements and online courses. For those interested in becoming top-notch innovators, we invite you to explore our courses that will fast-track your career path. So log in to www.mitidinnovation.com to kickstart your innovation journey with MIT ID Innovation Program. So thank you, everyone. Stay connected, stay safe,
Bye-bye.
and keep innovating every day.
Thank you. See you. Bye.